Hey guys, what's going on? So I've been getting a lot of questions, obviously, about what people should buy from the special offer. Now that they're giving you free access to free access. I don't even know how I just said free access. Paid access to all of the event heroes, minus Bard, obviously. I assume that they didn't include Bard in here because it's just the newest thing, and they're trying to give you access to older things. And Bard, since it literally just dropped this patch into Mirror Match, they're not going to offer you a $10 version of Bard for you to then wail out on. You've already had the chance to do that twice. They're like, we're not doing it to you a third time. Pay attention to the other units that have been here for a while. But I've been getting a lot of questions about like whether or not people should buy Bard in there, or what's the best thing to go to, and should I get should I get 3 copies of Bard? I have no copies of Bard. Should I get 3 copies of Bard? I'm a free to play player. Should I buy this if I'm a free to play player? Like there's a lot of like I love when people say I'm a free to play player. I just buy the season pass. That's my favorite. Like I don't spend a lot. I don't have Max Zeus. I'm a free to play player. I just buy the season pass. If you buy the season pass, you are not a free to play player. But should I buy any of these event units? And my response to that will always and forever be, do you plan on maxing it out? Do you plan on investing more money and more time into maxing this card out? Because if you don't, then I don't think it's worth it. And what's funny is I actually got into a match that perfectly encapsulates that sentence. So I want to talk about a lot of things that are happening here. I get perfect RNG on my tiles, and this guy almost quits. He just doesn't do anything, and I was like, no, let me play out this game. And I get perfect RNG on my tiles. I get perfect summon-ins like at the beginning of the game. And so this gameplay is not about me. It's 1.3 billion damage. I've done like obviously much more with this deck. And it's not about me. It's about this other person. I feel like a lot of players, I don't do necessarily specifically beginner guide content. A lot of people have been asking me do a beginner guide. Actually, not even just recently. People for my entire time of making content have been asking me, do a beginner guide, right? And I feel like the idea of doing a beginner guide, like when you're starting out in this game, making mistakes is like the cornerstone of understanding this game. And I feel, because if somebody just told you, don't play Boreas is terrible, and you play this game and you're starting out in this game, and you get Boreas for the first time as your first unit, and you start using it, and then you start like winning, you're going to look at that person who just gave you that advice like they're crazy. Boreas is the best card. But then you'll realize over the course of time, if you continue playing the game, that it's not that great of a card. And if somebody told you that it wasn't a great card, even if you looked at them as a content creator or whatever, and somebody just made a guide, don't use Boreas, and you got Boreas and you just chose not to use it, and when you do use it, you start winning games, that feels like bad advice. It's not bad advice, but I feel like most of this game is based around playing this game and figuring out why something doesn't work and why something does work, and trying and experimenting. And this person is at 34, he's at 3406 crit. That would have to mean that he has basically all of his commons, rares, and epics maxed out. He is at 6,017 trophies. He is rocking a level 20 trainer with the item. He has legendary equipment. They're not maxed out, but I mean, he has a counterspell, a pocket curse. He's using sword for whatever reason. Sword as opposed to spear. He's using a generosity. And he's using a captain. He got a captain item, so presumably he's using captain because he got the captain item, and he thinks that it's better. Inquisitor by nature is he's not using Knight of Light either. There's a glitch where for some reason all of the talents in Rush TV, they're all showcasing the left side. If you even go to my talents, this is all left side, and then this is all left side, right? He's using Dark Inquisitor with all the standard Dark Inquisitor talents. Dark Inquisitor, Shield of Faith, Ronin. The problem with this, he has a maxed out Inquisitor, he has a maxed out Dryad, he has a maxed out Knight Statue. This person knows how to play this game, and yet he doesn't. He is doing double DPS with a level 11 Bard. The way that I'm connecting this back to event units is that if you are choosing to buy and invest into this offer, the reason why I've been telling people, if you don't plan on maxing it out, don't do it. And the reason why I've been saying that is because if this person has a level 11 Bard. Now, in principle, this sounds like a fun idea. You're only using one Dark Inquisitor on the board. What are you doing with the rest of your tiles? The reason why most people will always tell you, do not do double DPS. Do not make the Blade Dancer Tesla deck. Do not make the Spirit Master, Inquisitor deck. The reason why they're telling you to do that, or telling you not to do that, is simply because one unit is dealing more damage than the other unit, which makes the other unit meaningless. And whichever unit that is, don't use that unit. If you have a Blade Dancer in your deck, and you decide to put Sentry in your deck as well, because, Blade Dancer does damage, and Sentry also does damage. So I can fill up my, most of my Blade Dancer spots with Blade Dancers, right? Because it needs to be in adjacent spots. And then I can fill up all of those separate holes with sentries, right? So you have a Blade Dancer doing hundreds of thousands of damage, and then you have a sentry doing hundreds of damage, at which point, yes, you are dealing more damage because you have 2 damage units, right? Because your sentry is technically doing more damage than your Knight Statue, or your Scrapper, or your Harley Quinn. And so in your mind, you're thinking double damage means better, right? But what's actually happening is you're just making, instead of making your one damage dealer do more damage, you're just doing less damage with a different unit. Instead of making your Blade Dancer that's doing 100,000 damage do 200,000 damage because you add in a Trapper or a Chemist, you're now doing 100,000 and 100 damage because you added a Sentry, or 100,500 damage. And that's why you don't do double DPS. The other thing that I would like to note before I start this gameplay is that this person is playing a level 11 Bard. It's not that Bard is bad. Bard is the best card. And presumably this person was like, I'm gonna, invest into Bard. Bard is the best card. I'm just gonna slot it in with my Dark Inquisitor deck because I'm not using all of the other spots. And everybody says Bard is great. Bard is great at max level. And so you can look at this gameplay as, of course Bard isn't going to be good because, it's facing up against your, max Spirit Master with your plus 1,000 crit, right? But that's my point. If you have a level 11 Bard and a max Inquisitor, you should probably just be using the max Inquisitor. And at which point your Bard is just going to sit there and do nothing. It is the better card, but because you don't have it at max, it doesn't matter. If you have a max Inquisitor, it's going to just straight up be better than your Bard, and you can't even build like a Bard Inquisitor deck because that's just dumb. And in terms of double DPS, and for the most part, I would say 99.9% of the time, double DPS is dumb. It's the dumbest idea. Don't do it. Do you want to know that 0.1% of the time? because I saw this and I immediately dismissed it, as most people probably would. And then I thought about it for 10 more seconds and I was like, oh my god, that's genius. Somebody, when I was streaming, decided to do Enchant Sword DPS with with the Inquisitor. So they were running Banner as opposed to Knight Statue, and then they were running Enchant Sword as the Ancient Sword, and then they were doing the rest of the regular talents. They were doing Elegant Parry, or I'm sorry, I always call it Elegant Parry. Eternal Gate. No, they weren't. No, it was the opposite of Eternal Gaze. They were doing the one that cures. I don't even have an Enchant Sword, and this person doesn't. See, this person should be running they shouldn't be running an Enchant Sword. They should be running a Trapper. The one that's not the cleansing one. They were using the cleanse talent, and then they were running double the blue side for the middle talent, and they were running an Ancient Sword. And the reason why they were doing that was, as soon as you get the full stacks on your one Inquisitor, you're done. The purpose of you running Enchant Sword is done. At which point, because you're gonna run I was gonna call it Ancient Sword. Because you're running Enchant Sword anyway, you can then transition all of your Enchant Swords to be Ancient Swords and do double DPS. At which point it kind of makes sense because it's going to be in your deck anyway, and now it has an additional purpose of dealing extra damage. It's not a lot of damage, but it's better than if it didn't. If you decided to just run it the regular way, and I thought that was pretty smart. I mean, it's not like, again, like it's not like you're doing, you know, amazing damage with your Ancient Swords, and potentially you could theoretically. But I thought that was incredibly clever. It's incredibly difficult because every single time you merge out, you have to keep merging out Ancient Swords so that they don't keep sucking up all of the blue effects. So it's incredibly difficult because every 3 swords that you merge, it becomes an Ancient Sword, at which point you need to merge out that Ancient Sword and then get more Enchant Swords. And sometimes that's even a problem because you have a 50-50 chance of getting a red sword or a blue sword. So a lot of the time you could get a bunch of red swords, they become ancient swords. You now have to merge that out. It's a process. It's a whole thing. But I thought it was clever. This, however, is not clever. And this is my exact reasoning for telling people that are on the fence of whether or not they should buy or invest into event units. This is my reasoning for telling them that if you aren't planning on maxing out your event unit to 15, you're never going to use it. Because everything else that you have that's level 15 is going to be better, and it's going to be easier to obtain. Anything that is a regular in-the-box legendary is obviously going to be infinitely more attainably cheaper and free. You can free to play a Inquisitor to max, a Blade Dancer to max, a Cultist to max. Especially with the Laboratory of Experiments, it's much easier to do that now. And any of those units, as quote-unquote bad as they are at max, if you compared them to event units at max, as bad as they are, they're still going to be better than whatever investment that you have, like whatever minimal investment that you have into your level 11 Bard. For this person, I'm not even suggesting that they, switch to a level 11 Bard deck at 6,000 trophies. I'm just saying, just use your Inquisitor. Replace Bard with a Trapper. Replace Bard with a Witch, and your deck becomes infinitely better. There's no reason to run double DPS. And he's trying to, I'm assuming they're trying to figure out a way to use a level 11 Bard. And once you get a level 15 anything else that is much easier to obtain and attainable as a free-to-play person, you're just going to use that level 15 thing. If you plan on maxing out a Bard, a Spirit Master, a Tesla, a Riding Hood, then do it. Then buy the pass, go crazy. I did. I bought, I used $30, and I bought 3 copies of Riding Hood, and then I got all the crystals. If I had all the crystals, I could upgrade my Riding Hood to 12, at which point now I just need now I need 3 books. Because obviously when you get to 3 copies of a event unit, it's actually better to do it with a book, because it would be $20 over the course of 2 months for a book of secrets that you can take it from 12 to 13, as opposed to $30 over the course of 3 months, getting 3 copies and having to play the event. So you're saving $10 by just using a book on it. So eventually, whenever I start caring about event, or once I start caring about other DPS units, I'm really trying to focus on my support units right now. And I did just put up a poll that was saying that what should I use on my what should I use my Book of Secrets on? I have a level 14 Tesla, and I have a level 14 Inquisitor. My level 14 Inquisitor, I already have the 3 copies, so I'm just going to naturally upgrade that with crystals at some point. And then the level 14 Tesla, I'm obviously using a book on it. I'm not, spending $30 on the event anymore. And so eventually, so my question that I proposed to the community was, should I upgrade with my Book of Secrets a level 14 Tesla, a level 12 witch, a level 13 witch, or a level 13 trapper? And by overwhelming majority, a lot of people said Tesla. And I know that Tesla is the sexier decision. It's the decision that is like, oh, you have another DPS, another max DPS. I didn't necessarily do this for this reason, but this is something that I thought might happen. Everybody's saying level up your level 14 to level 15 Tesla. Understanding that I have a level 15 Spirit Master, a level 15 Blade Dancer, that at any moment I could upgrade to a level 15 Inquisitor. But I'm also not able to very easily go into Contender. And the specific reason for that is because in the last couple of videos, I've been complaining that I have a great Spirit Master deck, but my reasoning for not being able to progress any further isn't my 4,700 crit. It's not the fact that I have a max Spirit Master, I have a max Knight Statue, I have a max Chemist, I have a level like 16 Mari. It's the fact that I'm using Chemist over Witch because my Witch is a level 13 and not a 15. It's because my Trapper is a level 13 as opposed to 15. And the thing about this game is that you have to upgrade your supports. Once you get a maxed out DPS unit, you need to max out your supports. Even though I put it to the community to ask, like, what would you upgrade, or what do you think I should upgrade between these cards? I think I'm holding out hope for the idea that, because I'm at 2 Trappers to the next level. I could naturally upgrade it to 14 if I get, I'm sorry, I think my Trapper's a 12. I think my Trapper must be a 12. I can naturally upgrade it from 12 to 13 if I get 1 Trapper. And if I use the book on it, I could then get it to 14. With the Witch, I don't have any copies. I think it's a 13 right now, and I have no copies. I could book it to 14. But if I literally got 1 copy of Trapper, I could book it to 14. And I feel like that or Witch are the better decisions. Because even if I use, and I'm eventually going to use a Book of Secrets on Tesla, because like I said, free to playing 3 copies of Tesla would take a very long time. And I'm not going to spend $30 on 3 events either. Because that's also bad. But I'm probably going to Book of Secrets either my Trapper or my Witch. Yeah, so I can go from 12 to 13 if I get 1 copy, and then I could book it from 13 to 14 with the book. I feel like both of these decisions, either upgrading that or the Witch, with the Book of Secrets is a much better decision, because I could upgrade my Tesla, but that would just give me another DPS card that, again, I don't need. There's an argument to be made that you should upgrade another DPS if it is going to be better than your current DPS. So if you have a Max Boreas, yes, upgrade your Cultist, because Cultist is a better DPS card than Boreas. That is a reasonable usage of a Book of Secrets, or a reason to upgrade another DPS card. But if you already have a very good DPS card, the thing that you need to focus on upgrading is not more DPS cards, it's more support cards. It's maxing out every other support card that you need for that deck, so that that deck can take you to contender, it can take you to champion, and you can get to those heights much easier than if I just used my Book of Secrets on a Tesla. I will just be doing as good or worse than what I'm currently doing in PvP, as opposed to making my PvP journey and my clan tournament journey easier, just in general. So I think I'm going to use the Book of Secrets on either a Trapper or Witch. And I think that's the better decision. This is one of those things that, you just kind of have to play the game. These are the fact that I have a Blade Dancer, a Max Blade Dancer, and I don't want to say I never use it, but I don't really use it anymore. The fact that I've upgraded most of these other random DPS cards to the levels that they are, as opposed to upgrading all of my support cards. These are the decisions that you make over the course of the game that feel like correct decisions. And maybe they are at the time, but maybe in the long run, you now have to course correct and eventually fix. So where I had a lot of fun playing Blade Dancer, I'm now at a point where I'm like, you know what? I need to stop. I need to stop upgrading DPS cards. And I need to max out support cards, even if they're not the flashy decisions. And this is, and as much as I want to do a beginner type guide on this game, I feel like as a player that plays this game, you need to make bad decisions. You need to make these decisions over the course of your journey in order to appreciate and understand why you should be making other decisions. Why you should be making more optimal decisions, as opposed to just listening to somebody tell you, upgrade your Trapper. And everybody's at a significantly different part of this game that it would basically be impossible to make a beginner guide, because a beginner guide for who? I'll talk to you guys next video.